Well, some positives did come out of the pandemic, including the ability to work from anywhere.
That's right, and thousands are flocking to Florida for those endless summers.
And this is Chick to Chick.
This podcast is sponsored by Steve Gephardt and Moneyline Lending. It's summertime and it is the busiest time of the year for folks and families to move and get ahead of the school year.
Yeah, it's super busy. Now, Steve and Moneyline will help you find and finance the home of your dreams. You can connect with Steve today. Just go to moneylinemortgages.com or steveselleseverything.com. Well, speaking of moving, as we said at the top of this podcast, because of COVID, they've got this new sense of freedom now that they can pretty much work from anywhere, live anywhere they want. And there's been this massive, massive migration to Florida. In fact, Florida, one of the top 4 states with the highest number of new residents in 2022. Florida, the population there, in just 1 year, they picked up 500,000 new residents.
Wow.
And this stat is crazy. 1,200 people per day are now moving to Florida. It's crazy.
It is crazy. I want to own a moving company in Florida because I think I would be making bank.
Oh my goodness, yeah, right?
Well, we do know someone from Florida. And I would like to think that he is the #1 Chick to Chick fan. What do you think?
I think he's a chickaholic, actually.
I think that's a great name for Mr. Ken Allman, who is from Florida, originally from Pennsylvania. Ken, we're so excited to have you back on the podcast. It's always a treat when you join us.
Thanks, ladies. It's great to see you again.
Love having you here. Now, you were a bit of a trendsetter because you actually left the Northeast and moved to Florida in 2019, a year before the pandemic hit. Why did you decide to make that move and leave and head south?
Well, those of you for you that know me, obviously, I've been whining about the weather for the last 20 years in Pennsylvania and got a little tired of the cold weather. And then it was somewhat a coincidence, but my company assigned me to a couple of accounts in Clearwater. So I started traveling to Clearwater for business, which gave me the opportunity, obviously, to look around and get a feel for the area. And just so happened that a couple of friends of mine from Harrisburg lived there. So I hooked up with them on a couple of Saturdays and Sundays when I stayed over. They showed me around the area. And the next thing you know, I went back to my current boss and just said, would you mind if I moved down to Florida? And they said, no, not at all. So without any ties at the moment in Pennsylvania, I just felt like it would be a good move. And so packed up my bags, sold the condo, and headed for St. Pete.
So what was it about Florida that made you want to stay?
Just the atmosphere, the warm weather. I mean, the first thing I noticed when I came down here is everybody's friendly and happy. And,
they don't have bitter beer face.
Yeah.
I understand that. I get that. They don't have bitter beer face.
They don't. And when you talk to them, they're happy. And even a couple of friends of mine, Aaron and Kevin, came down with me to look when we all were looking at condos and things. And they said the same thing. Said, why is everybody so happy? And I said, well, think about it. It's like 80 and sunny 340 days out of the year. And honestly, the real thing about it is the sunshine versus the heat. I'm fine with the hot weather in the summer. Everybody will tell you it's really hot in the summer. Yeah, so what? But what I really like is the fact that I just get up every morning, go out and take my walk, and I don't even look at the weather anymore. It's rarely do I ever even need more than a T-shirt, and it's always sunny. So, that just makes for a great attitude, makes you smile, people are happy, and it's awesome. That's why I stayed.
Well, there's an 80% chance of sun and a 90% chance of warm. So
yeah.
You said, why am I looking at the weather? You know what it's going to be every single day.
You're getting lots of vitamin D.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. Vitamin D is good for you, so you're getting lots of that.
So you went, you first moved to St. Pete, and now you've relocated to Cape Coral. And as we talked about, there's just this humongous migration. Everybody's headed south, headed to Florida. Have you noticed a lot of people moving into the area, and what are they telling you? Why are they moving to Florida?
This area that I'm in is, I would say, a little more established in the sense that there's not as many people coming in and out. But if you look at some of the surrounding areas, some of the towns up a little bit north, like Venice and Port Charlotte, Those are still up and coming. Englewood is another one. They're still up and coming, and they're getting just like people moving there like crazy. When I moved, I came from St. Pete down to here where my good friends Aaron and Kevin live. And I found this place at a way lower price than it is right now. Just before COVID, when everybody started coming down and moving to the area. So I was lucky. I closed in December of 2020. And then right after that, the prices started skyrocketing. So yeah. And I would say 20 to 25% more these condos are selling for right now than they were 2 years ago.
Wow, that's quite the increase. Another thing that we know that you do, which ties into the whole endless summer theme, which is probably why it's so appropriate that you moved to a place that is endless summer, right? Is that you have a band. So talk to us about your love of music. And I would think that when you're in Florida with all these outside venues, it just makes it that much more cool.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the interesting thing about the band was when Aaron and Kevin, my singing partner, moved to Cape Coral, I moved to St. Pete. And then I came down to Cape Coral to play one time, and we went out and saw some condos, which I ended up living at. And that's how I ended up here. So as soon as I did, Aaron and I started going back and, talking to people about going out and talking to people about how we used to play in Pennsylvania for all those years. And the next thing, we started playing out again. But to your point, Kara, here it's like 7 days a week and 2 shifts, right? So there's usually a 1 to 4 and then there's a 5 to 8, which of course is the best part. Like I usually play in Harrisburg, we used to play till 11:30 and, it'd be freezing cold. Now I'm done by 8 o'clock.
You got to get in the freezing cold.
It's the middle of summer and Ken was still unfreezing cold.
Yeah, and so everybody's home. You leave the gig at 8 o'clock and you get home by 9 o'clock, and then chill out on the couch and go to bed. Which is one of the reasons why when I first moved here, people were telling me they called it Cape Coma instead of Cape Coral.
That's too funny.
Because everybody goes to bed so early.
Yeah,
so
right. But I set out
enjoy a nice long sunny day.
That's right. Well, and I set out to change that name, but actually, to your point about the sunny and the nice days, there's a lot of day drinking that goes on down here. But what else? It's a beautiful day. It's an afternoon. If you're here on vacation, or like a lot of people here are retired, you just go sit outside and have a drink and sit by the beach, and it does make for a pretty non-productive lifestyle.
It sounds great, Ken. It sounds great.
It sounds like, but it's a lot of fun.
So how often do you play then? Because you said there's live music 7 days a week.
All over,
2
everywhere.
shifts on any given day. How often are you out performing?
So I just finished up a 4 weekend nights in a row, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and then 4 again the following weekend. So, and honestly, we could play 7 days a week if we wanted to, but neither of us want to be doing it that much.
So you moved, you're playing your music down there, you're loving life down there, and now you've started up a podcast called Endless Summer.
Love it.
What's it about? It's about the whole music scene. Talk to us about that.
Absolutely. It's something I just always wanted to do. And I felt like I've had a lot of help along the way in my musical career, a lot of people that believed in me and supported me. And I thought it would be great to give back. So I started putting the idea together, the concept, the equipment, and all the other things that I needed. And then about mid-May, I started actually promoting it, if you will, on social media. And I got a heck of a great response. And a lot of people wanted to tell their story. And I explained it was there's nothing to it. It's a simple podcast where you just tell your story, where you're from, what your roots are, what your musical influences are, and it's basically just to promote local musicians, to promote awareness about the businesses and the venues that they play in, and their stories out there in Southwest Florida. And so far the response has been great. I launched the first one in June 5th. I have a ton of people lined up to do some more. And at the same time, I'm starting to expand my own network and our network, if you will, of all the musicians that we're meeting and all of the venues that we're dealing with, if you will, as sponsors. And local areas that have live music. So it's becoming so far so good, I should say. And I'm very happy about the response that I've gotten.
I can see it now. Endless Summer Palooza. This big stage.
That's a great idea.
Featuring Ken Ullman, the Chickaholic.
I love it. We could go down and we can hang out too. I mean,
can we come down? Can we be a guest
yeah.
on your podcast?
We're coming. We're going to go down.
We're going.
We're not asking.
Oh, we're coming, Ken.
You know what?
Yeah,
Ken, I love this. I think what's so cool is the thing about artists is you want to know the background of them. And every artist has poured out their heart and soul into what they're doing.
Yes.
So I think it's really cool. And at a time when people are really stressed and there's so much ugly outside noise, what a great way to just kind of connect in the simplest of form. And that's just music, talking to people and enjoying people and learning a lot about your area.
Absolutely. Ken, if people want to find your podcast, where can they find you? To listen, watch, and to find out about
where
musicians.
we can go find you.
So we have an Endless Summer Podcast YouTube channel. We also have an Endless Summer Podcast Facebook page. And I didn't do an Instagram page, but I'm going to use Podbean to host, or I'm using Podbean to host the podcast. But it's also going to be up on the Endless Summer YouTube channel and, of course, the Endless Summer Podcast Facebook channel. And then the one catch that I asked from all the artists was that they posted on their own pages as well. So now they're sort of promoting it, if you will. And a lot of the artists that a few that we've done so far, they have thousands of friends and fans on their pages. So it's expanding pretty rapidly. I think it's going to be awesome. And I think you both should come down here and then be on my podcast.
I love that
Twist
idea.
my arm.
Right. We'll be there. Ken, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. We love having you. You are our #1 Chickaholic.
Yes. And congratulations.
Congratulations.
Great stuff.
Thank you. I'm learning some great things about some great musicians down here, and it's all we're having just a great time. So thank you very much, ladies, for having me on your podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for coming back. I love it. It's
Okay.
great. Love live music.
Oh,
love
yeah.
the fact
What's not to love about live music?
everybody has a story, including these musicians,
Yeah.
and that's fantastic that he's shining the spotlight.
I'm so proud of Ken. That's so
great.
fantastic. We appreciate you being with us today. Do us a favor, head over to our YouTube page and like and subscribe until we are back to chirp about another topic.